The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why they actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's forming a phonic.
Time out. How are you feeling right now? Happy? Excited? Angry? Overwhelmed? One of the best things you can do for your mind health is to name what you're feeling. It can sharpen your awareness and help you talk about your feelings with someone you trust. Here are 3 questions to ask yourself. Where are your thoughts right now? In the past, the present, the future? Do you notice any sensations in your body? Is your heart beating fast? Is there a flutter in your stomach? Or are you fully relaxed? What do you need right now? Time with others? Time to yourself? Remember, there's power in this awareness, so find ways to identify what you're feeling today.
Blueprint Podcast, of course, yours truly, Lowe's Moore. I want to say thank you guys for your support of the Blueprint Podcast each and every week. You just seen in the intro, man, if you would just like, subscribe, whether it be on Facebook or on YouTube, please do that for me. But again, thank you for your support. And that was a very powerful piece right there, because we just left April, which we didn't celebrate, but we were talking about acceptance of autism, or Autism Acceptance Month, and awareness, right? Some people are not even aware of what autism is, and some people don't accept it as well. And then now we're in May, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so that was just, sometimes we don't know how we're feeling. Most of the time we don't even think about how we feel, because we're just going through. We just taking life. We just think it's just a normal part of our process in life, where we just get up every day and we're feeling certain ways, and we don't know if we're anxious or we have anxiety or we're stressed or we're depressed. We don't even know, right? Because sometimes we just in the rat race of life. Right. And I'm sure during the course of the pandemic, man, a lot of people were having mental health issues, or they had become aware because they had never been in a situation like that, where you had to just stay in your home. There was no social, there was no social environment where you could just go out and hang out in the park, meet people, and go to restaurants and go to the movies. All those things were shut out. You couldn't go to church, so forth and so on. So all you had was either talking to a family member, or you're on the phone talking to somebody, or you're FaceTiming somebody, and then Zoom became popular. So that was the only way we were existing back then, right? But let me share with you just before the pandemic, and when it comes to mental health, let me say this: everybody deals with stress, and whether they know it or not, there's good stress and bad stress. But trying to be successful in life, there's a lot of stress. Just trying to get through elementary school, trying to graduate from middle school, trying to get to high school, man, there's a large amount of stress and anxiety and pressure that goes with that. If you're a young kid, whether you're in a 2-family home, single family home, or you've lost your parents, or your parents wasn't there for you, there's a whole lot of anxiety and stress that goes with that. And sometimes we're just not aware, We're just not aware of it. We just learn to live. We just learn to stew in what we are dealing with. And so, back just before the pandemic, maybe I would say, a few months or either year before, I was, I don't know. I think I got a foot infection, and I was swimming at that time, doing swimming aerobics, and somehow I got an infection in my foot. And I remember going to the emergency room, and my daughter dropping me off at the emergency room, and as they checked me out and different things like that, my foot had swelled up, and then there was like a redness in my foot that was starting to run up my leg, which means that the infection was moving, right? And as it was moving up my leg, they decided that they were going to keep me over, and it was just before Thanksgiving. And so there I am laying in the hospital, taking my blood pressure, doing all these crazy things. And while I laid there, I think I was there 2 or 3 days, my mind, something wasn't right in my head. I mean, I just couldn't really get it together. And even after, everything was over, I just couldn't get it together. I mean, even though the infection was gone and I was sitting at home before I was going back to work, I would just sit there during the daytime, man, and I just kept thinking to myself, man, is this it? Is life over? I just couldn't really get myself together. And I remember going to the doctor. I made a doctor's appointment, went there, and I just told the doctor, man, there's something was off, something was not right, and she checked me up. I thought maybe I had a flu or some virus or something like that. Things just wasn't right. And so she sent me home. She gave me some antibiotics, and she sent me home. And a few days, about a week later, man, my wife went with me, and she asked me the question, right? Did I feel anxiety? Was I depressed? And honestly, I didn't really know what that was at that particular time, and then they wanted to give me some medication for it. Would you like some medication? I said, nah, I think I'm gonna be good, so forth and so on. And fortunately for me, there's different ways to address mental health, and it could be a holistic way to address mental health. Number one, right? You see a doctor. Number two, the possibility of seeing a therapist. Number three, right, is a combination where you try to, make sure you're physically right, that you mentally right, and then with me, a big part of it holistically was I spiritually right. And so the combination of the three helped me break through, right? Helped me break through and come out of whatever I realized that I was experiencing anxiety, man. I didn't want to do anything. I was tired. It was crazy, man. My mind was, just not there. Now, if you're experiencing those things, I just mentioned a few things that you could find yourself or attempt to go see a doctor, right? You could, talk about maybe seeing a therapist, right? You could talk about maybe, something that is spiritual, right? That can help you address some of those needs, right? But man, get help, right? Get help. And it's always good to have support. Like I had my wife, I had my children, right? I had my work, and they were so encouraging, right? But there are so many people, so many thousands and thousands of people that are dealing with mental health every single day. And a lot of times we don't know what anxiety is. We don't know if we're stressed, and we don't know if we're depressed. And then let me say this final thing here. Let me say this final thing about this, because I retired maybe now going on 4 years, probably over 4 years. And when I retired, after working 27 years in the Boys and Girls Club, and then my career before that, right? When I retired, man, I was having a hard time. I could see when they say, man, the lifespan of a person who retired is 7 years later, because you don't know the kind of stress and depression and the kind of anxiety and stress you have over the 20, 30, 40, 50 years you've been working. You've been working in that. And so when you retire, right, all of a sudden that stuff you've been running from, right, you've been running from it, right, all of a sudden it catches up with you, man, and it hits you, right? And so it was crazy during the pandemic. I was having, it was tough during the pandemic, not being able to get out and then have all that stress and anxiety, just like catching up with me. And so again, every month should be mental health awareness, but this month, a month of May, we are, doing something around that. And so real quickly, I want to, acknowledge the NBA, because I'm a former NBA player. And I'm sure that during my career and even before my career and even after my career, there have been so many players, so many entertainers, so many business people that just don't deal with stress well, just don't deal with anxiety well, or don't deal with depression well. And if you could go back 2 slides and you see NBA has a program, because they start to recognize that a lot of the NBA players, everybody said, just go play ball, just go dribble the ball and you'll be all right. No, sometimes in dribbling the ball, you need more than dribbling the ball. You need more than playing the game. There's a lot of pressure. Everybody say, yo, you're making a whole lot of money. You shouldn't be depressed. You shouldn't have anxiety. You shouldn't have any of those things. Nah, that's not how it works, right? Cause you gifted to do something don't mean your mind is right. So the NBA, I'm thankful to the NBA today for putting together, listening to some of the programs, right? Listening to some of the players and the things that they had going on. Hey, if you want to go to, it's mentalhealthnba.com and check out. They have some wonderful things on there. And right there, hold on for a second. It says, appreciate your own journey. A lot of us try to be like everybody else, but appreciate your own journey. Don't try to be like other people. Try to be like you, right? Keep hit some more of those slides for me. Right. And then they got some different things up, the mental health professional, and an overview. Check that out. Go to the NBA mentalhealth.com. Be an accountability partner. You got to have people around you, man, that you can count on when you're not feeling well. And let me tell you, when I was going through, I spoke to my wife. Right. But then I was on my men's call, and I would call a couple of guys from my men's call and tell them what I was going through. Yeah, they prayed with me, man. But they also kept calling me up and asking me how I was doing and how everything was going. Right. And gave me proper advice. Right, too, as well. So, yeah, this is May, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Right. And here it is. I like this too. What are you saying to yourself? Because talking to yourself or self-talk is important. That's why I do the affirmation every week. I do the affirmations every week because, man, we got to talk to ourselves. We got to speak to ourselves positively, right? We definitely, accountability partners, is important. And you got to learn how to talk to yourself, man. Sometimes, man, we don't talk very good to ourselves. Right. But you got to encourage yourself. I think that's a scripture in the Bible said David encouraged himself. Sometimes you got to encourage yourself, and then you got to have people who are going to encourage you. Right. And again, the NBA does a wonderful job with that. And we'll hear more. Take a mental health time out. Sometimes you just got to pause. Right. Get into some meditation, get into some yoga, read a book. Right. Go sit outside and relax and just breathe and calm down and be happy in your space. So again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're into it. So I just wanted to start out with that, and let's move forward. I'm hoping that today I'm dropping my pebble in the pond, right? Expecting the ripple effect, and let's get rolling. I'm going to start out with my book of the week, right? And I didn't know I was going to go through some stuff. before the pandemic. But this book right here was so powerful, man, because it's holistic. The power of right thinking, right? I love this book. Kerry Kirkwood, get this book, man. This was one of my people did Daniel fast where I was fasting for right thinking, right? And I didn't know I had to practice right thinking. What I was saying to myself, what I was going to, when people were saying things to me negatively, how could I avoid those negative conversations, how people talk about me, and how I could keep my mind right on right thinking the whole time. This book helped me in regards to the pandemic. So if you get an opportunity, check that book out. Get the physical book, right? And also get the audio as well. Very powerful. And then my word of the week, right, is called feelings. Right? I think every day you got to almost ask yourself, how are you feeling? You know, when you get up in the morning, during midday, in the evening, how am I feeling? Am I happy? Am I happy all the time? Am I excited? Am I sad? Am I, these are feelings. Thirsty? Am I sick? Am I surprised? Am I tired? Am I confused? Right? Sometimes you just gotta, feelings are important, right? And you need to know, you need to be aware of what you're feeling. Right. And so that's my word of the week. Feelings. What are you feeling? Right. And then here's my Hill and Pierce Harper affirmation moment. Right. And I got this from Steve Vaccaro in the Chapters Rap. Right. He put it up there and he said 7 rules to be happy in life. He said, never hate, don't worry, live simple, expect a little, give a lot, always smile, and keep in touch with God. And I put a little asterisk by number 4, right? It said expect little, right? I changed it. We serve a big God, right? And I expect more. Right? I don't expect little, I expect more. We serve a big God. He's limitless, right? I don't expect little. I expect more, right? And I told him, he said, man, I'm going to change that. I was like, yeah, I expect more. I don't expect little. I expect more, right? I expect bigger things. And then here's my music and movie of the week, right? And this is Chandler Moore. He had an album out a few years ago called Feelings, right? And evidently, when a person writes a song or they produce these songs, right, a lot of things may be going on in their life, right? And so they write what they feel, right? And then not only, sometimes God makes you aware is not only what you're feeling, right, but what is society feeling? So I write this song, right, to encourage people and to let people know, right, you're not the only one going through anxiety, stress, depression. You're not the only one going through, right? And in writing this song and writing this album, right, and producing it, right, is hopefully it's been beneficial to a number of people. But that's Chandler Moore and his album Feelings. Right. And then there's an animation movie called Inside Out. You probably never thought about it, but and Inside Out is an animation movie about a little girl who's going through her growing up and going through all these different types of emotions that I just mentioned when I was talking about feelings. Right. I don't get a chance. It's a kid's movie. Right. It gives you an idea of what kids may be experiencing, right? You see anger there, the little fire, right? You see happiness, sadness. You see the blue there, they're sad, right? All these feelings that a kid may be experiencing when they're growing up, right? It's a very good movie to see. And I got an upcoming movie, right? A movie you should see is Inside Out 2 is coming out in June, and they add some things as she's growing into a teenager. Right now, they add anxiety and some other emotions. There's 27 emotions, right? And sometimes these animation movies are very beneficial and they're very helpful, right? So that's my music and my movie of the week. And I want to say happy birthday to my cousin Angie, right? Love you. Have many more. Hope you enjoyed your birthday, right? Yeah. Love you. And then, right, Lowesmore the 3rd. He was born on May the 4th, right? I want to say happy birthday to my oldest son, Losey. And right now, he just got off a plane. He's traveling. But we had a good time with him on yesterday. We celebrated his birthday. And then, it's my birthday. May the 5th. He's May the 4th. I'm May the 5th. I just came from one of those Brazilian places where you turn over the knob or you turn over a little thing and they bring you as much food as you want. We just finished there. I'm a little stuffed right now, right? I don't even know how I'm doing this. I probably want to take a nap, but hey, I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. So let's get rolling. I want to say I'm enjoying my birthday. I had a great day today. I'm going to continue to celebrate it all week. And then next weekend, we're going to have a special Mother's Day weekend podcast, right? My wife and I are going to be doing a Mother's Day special on next Saturday, May the 11th at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock on Saturday, 9 to 10:30 on that special Mother's Day. We want to make sure Sunday, Mother's Day, have their full and complete day to themselves, right? So in advance, happy Mother's Day. And then my person of the week is Kevin Love. Many of you guys, I remember Kevin Love from playing with UCLA, right? I remember him playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's still playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now he's playing with the Miami Heat, right? And I want you to listen to this before I introduce my guest for this evening, right? I want you to listen to this video by Kevin Love in regards to mental health as we, bring awareness to mental health during the month of May.
It's interesting when you have a injury, so to speak, and you have a knee injury or my hand or, it's an ankle sprain. It's a lot different when you can't see it and somebody doesn't know what's going on outside the lines. Everybody's going through something. Success is not immune to depression.
So Kevin, you are now the new face of mental health in the NBA. Mm-hmm. How does that feel?
At first, it was a little scary. I think from suffering with anxiety and depression for a long time into having my first panic attack on November 5th and not really knowing what that meant to fast forwarding being here now, it's changed my frame of mind, and I really do believe in writing my piece that everybody is going through something. So knowing that it doesn't discriminate and knowing that I'm trying to change the stigma, not only for people in sports, but all over. And I remember talking to my agent and he said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because a lot of people are going to talk about it." I said, "Jeff, I don't know if anybody will, but just understand I'm trying to help people." He goes, "I get it. If you help one person, if you help one kid, it could be absolutely life-changing and groundbreaking for that kid."
Let's talk about the panic attack for a minute, because that's when the world got a little glimpse of what was going on. So take us through what happened that night.
Well, it was very scary for me because I have always had the anxiety, and like a lot of people, and either it's like, for example, you want to go to bed or you want to go to sleep and you think, I have a big game the next day. And so what happens? You plan your routine, you try to go to sleep, you get ready, and then you dig up the worst things that have happened the last 10 years for you. So I think it was a combination of things that were going on in my life that led up to that point, as well as it was a 5-7 start, and on November 5th, I just remember not quite feeling right. I remember we went through a few plays. There was a timeout. I got to the huddle, and that's when I felt something that I had never felt before. I couldn't catch my breath. I felt like my mind was completely out. And Ty Lue had said something to me. I told him I'll be right back. I ran in the locker room. I was essentially searching for something that I couldn't find. I didn't know this feeling. And then I just basically ran to our trainer's room, fell on the ground, collapsed, and my heart was jumping out of my chest, and I couldn't get air to my lungs, and essentially was trying to clear my throat, sticking my hand down my throat, trying to get myself
Seriously?
air. Yeah, so it was.
You must have been terrified.
It was terrifying. I thought I was having a heart attack. I really felt like I was going to die in this moment. I'm getting hot thinking about it. It was a moment that nobody wants to have, but it was very eye-opening. And then going to the hospital after that, everything checked out, and I was basically thinking to myself, well, what happened? I've now come to a point where I just kind of lay all my cards out on the table and say, this is what you get. And having that freedom of mind is something that I've never really had. It's actually given me peace. And sometimes things get worse in order to get better. Sometimes there is a rock bottom, but I know that people reaching out for help or talking to someone, it does really work. And for so long, I put that off, thinking I didn't need it, because that was my playbook when I was young, is to suppress it and be a man. And I think the masculinity thing is kind of misleading in a lot of ways, because when that's ingrained in your mind in an early age, you feel that way throughout. I wish I would have had the presence of mind earlier on to face these things, but sure. I think everybody has their moment, their aha moment, or that moment where they're able to come forward with these type of things.
So now I'm going to ask you what everyone wants to know. What's LeBron doing during this time?
Well, I remember the first thing he said to me after that came out was that he shook my hand on the back of the bus. He kind of let everybody get off, and he said, you really helped a lot of people today. You helped a lot, not only a lot of kids, but you helped a lot of people. So that was a special moment, but I couldn't go a few minutes without another person in that community I talk about coming forward and saying, hey, this is my experience and I want to share this with you. So it was a way of seeing a lot of people are being vulnerable, mm-hmm. and also sharing these experiences and having that community and saying we need to beat down this stigma together.
So stigma is still the problem. There's still plenty of guys that have issues, and they don't need to come forward to me or to you, but right. They do need to get the help. But there are players out there that think you're soft because you did this. They think DeMar's soft. They're going to think everybody that comes forward is soft. What do you say to them?
It's such a tired statement. I've put my time in this league. Guys put their time in this league. To be in the NBA, you're not soft. And to come forward with this, it's, like I said, that's tired, it's outdated, and it actually, in the end, is probably, for me, it was the best thing I did, and it's only going to help you moving forward. And it doesn't just mean basketball players or anywhere in sports. This is an everyone and every human thing.
Man, I want to welcome to the Blueprint Kevin Bunch. Yeah. Man, let me say this, Kevin. Welcome to the Blueprint, yes. Man. And I want to say this to you first. You have been a staunch supporter of the Blueprint podcast, and I want to say thank you. And I also want to say something to what Kevin Love was just addressing, because I don't know if I actually had experienced anxiety like that when I was playing basketball. Man, I don't even know, but that day when after the infection, I didn't get to the point where I had the panic attack, right? But I was unclear, right? And my breathing, it was crazy as I sat there waiting the 2 or 3 days that the doctor gave me off, and just nobody there. Man, I didn't know what I was feeling. I thought I was like, oh man, am I going out? I mean, my breathing, everything was just not, it was just not there.
I can imagine. It's scary.
Yeah. And so I kind of feel what Kevin Love was feeling. I never had it in a game, and I didn't have the panic attack. I was close probably, but the one thing I did, man, and this is how men are though. I mean, at least this is where I am, right? You know, man, it had to get really tough for me to like say I'm gonna go to the doctor, right? But I was really unsure how I was feeling, and my wife went back to the doctor with me, as I mentioned earlier, and I said to my, and it never crossed my mind. I thought like maybe I was thinking the whole time I had a sinus infection, because I get a little weird when my sinuses are really bothering me and they haven't drained yet, and eventually they drain, they give me something and then they drain and it clears my head, but I just couldn't clear my head, right? And so when the doctor asked me if I was anxious, I didn't really know what that was, right? I was like, anxious, depression, are you depressed, right? Should I give you something for it?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
so Lowe's, that was a powerful video. I heard that Kevin Love suffered from depression or anxiety attacks. I didn't know he actually had one right on the bench of a game.
Yeah, that's
when
crazy,
he got
right?
diagnosed. And the things about his particular type of attack is they can come from anywhere, right? Who knows what set it off, because he never had one before, but why then at that moment? Yours is a little different. Like you're going through something, medical, and your mind starts racing and you're thinking, wow, could this be it? So yeah. And so also when it comes to mental health, especially with minority men, that's kind of taboo, right? We don't talk about it. You ignore, if you have those feelings, you ignore it. It's something that's not talked about. There's no outlet, so because I think the newscaster asked him a very important question. She said, how do you feel, and how do you think people are going to think you're soft, like you're not manly, mental health, anxiety, but it's something we definitely have to deal with. We definitely have to deal with.
And he mentioned the thing about masculinity, because when you grow up, particularly as a black man, and if your father was available, right, back in the day, and I don't know why they said those things, a man shouldn't cry, or man up, boy, all those kinds of things that used to be said in regards to, I call that false masculinity, right? Because there's going to be a time when you cry. There's going to be a time when you're not feeling right, and you need to be able to express that. And somebody saying man up, right, is not necessarily manning up, right? Because you expect that probably of a male, but not a man, because there's a difference between being a male and a man, right? Which is another whole topic, but but yeah, I think that if you're out there, whether you're young, and again, we could say we experience this because we're African American men, and my growing up, our fathers, grandfathers, great grandfathers experiencing from a cultural perspective, experiencing things. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, they maybe could tell you like, hey man, you need to man up because like these things are gonna happen, and so you had to learn how to get through those things. But today, right? Today as a man, you have to be able to talk to somebody. I was happy that I was on the men's call. I had gotten close enough to trust the men, and we've had some intimate conversations about different things that I had some men that I could go to and say, even though I was talking to my wife, and she went to the doctor with me, but talking to them too, having a team, right? Having a partner that can call you up and say, "Are you doing all right? Is everything okay?" So forth and so on.
Right. But I think so. I don't know. I think I told you earlier, right, before the show started. So Westchester County has a thing they started called the Mobile Crisis Response Team. Right. They're in certain cities, and I'm a social worker, And one of the things we do on the mobile crisis response team is, right, it's a peer-to-peer facilitator and a licensed social worker, and we respond to calls, right, mental health crisis calls. And what shocked me was the amount of calls that are men, right? So you call the mobile crisis team or you call the police, and we respond. So if it's anxiety attacks, you need to talk to a psychiatrist feeling suicidal tendencies, things like that. And I'd say like maybe 60% of our calls are men, right? So it's not just ladies, right? It's men. But also what we do is we go to the high schools, right? And we talk to the teens, right? Men and girls, right? Young men and young ladies, to let them know, hey, this is a number you can call, right? Don't be ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not a stigma, right? We hand out pamphlets and phone numbers to let them know, there's, you're not the only one that's going through this, right? Boys have anxiety attacks. They have mental health issues. You might not have a male that you can go to, but we offer a peer-to-peer facilitator, right? Who's somebody who's either around the same age, right, as that person, who has same life experience, might have suffered from anxiety, depression, feeling of loneliness, and things like that you don't really talk about, that you can't talk about to your friends or to a family member, but you'll talk to a peer-to-peer, right? It might be easier for a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old person, especially a young man, to talk to another teenage young man that's going through the same thing. He might talk to that person that's a stranger before he would talk to, right, a family member or a close friend, right? And that's the good thing about the mobile crisis response team. We do a lot of other things too, but the mental health aspect is what I think we utilize the most, that we do the most.
Yeah. I mean, good way to to start out, man. Knowing that you're in the profession as well is important. And so we want to get again, I want to say thank you for your support of the blueprint, and not only you just awesome, man. I got honored by organization that I've been a part of for a few years, and called the NCADD, the National Council of Alcohol and Drug Dependency, and I've been a part of it for like the last 5, 6, 7 years. And we had a program in at the Boys and Girls Club. That's how we got connected, right? I met Joan, and Joan introduced me to the program, Early Childhood Trauma. And I went to see some programs at the different schools. They were dealing with elementary school, middle school, and high school. And they had the ability to get young kids to share their feelings, which was very powerful. And so we brought them into the Boys and Girls Club. They asked me to come on the board. I'm the first vice president of it. They honored me, and you found out, and you and your wife came over and support us. Yeah. I think we got it. We took a picture together. I think we got a picture up there.
Took a bunch of pictures.
Yeah. We I think me, you, your wife, and my wife. We were at the at that dinner. Night. Yeah, and then also I want to say thank you, man. You were there to support my wife. When she became the was it assistant pastor? Yeah, you were there at there. You took those pictures, at the ceremony as well, man. So I want to say thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Listen, you're one of the people growing up that we all look to. I was a boys club kid, from the time I was 6 years old to 13, so we family. So, and your wife is, I adopted her as my sister because we both are the children of Lloyd and Shirley. Yeah, right. They were Lloyd, and we're both the same height, the same, complexion, and and we're both licensed social workers. So I said, "You're my sister." So man, it was a good time, man. It was a good time. I'm glad to be there for Pastor Moore.
Yeah, and the other thing too, man, was when you were talking about the Boys and Girls Club and going back, man, Mr. Coleman,
Yeah.
Joseph Coleman, it's interesting that we don't. A lot of them are not around anymore. Miss Brown, Mr. Jones, right?
Wow. Oh, I have this picture in my living room, man. I have this picture in my living room. Oh, that's an awesome picture. Yeah,
Yeah. The family, man.
that's my family, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. And Mr. Coleman was such a legendary figure
Yeah.
in Mount Vernon, man. And
Coleman, Mr. Jones. I think we lost Mr. Jones for two and a half, 3 weeks ago.
yeah, a little while
He might have
ago.
been the last of the dinosaurs, I think.
Yeah, because then Miss
Brown
Brown, yeah,
passed. So I think those are the last of those community figures that I mean, my uncle, man, the boys club, man, Lowe's. Let me tell you, for a kid on the south side of Mount Vernon, the boys club was everything to you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That
no,
was your summer camp. That was your after school programs. That was once in a while on Saturdays, they would open up and let us run around. So most of my friends that I have today came from the boys club. You could, I met Gus Williams there and Ray Williams and and it was just like, you know, it's just a big part of the boys club raised me, man.
yeah.
Boys club
And,
raised
and
me.
the interesting those individuals, CJ, Calvin Jones,
Calvin Jones,
Miss Brown,
Miss Brown,
Mr. Jones, Mr. Coleman, and then you can go back even further, Mr. Tewitt, Mr. Billy Thomas, Mr. White, George Brown, so many, the Mitchell brothers, that bridge, they were the bridge to the future, and we kind of lost that
yeah,
bridge, right? It just doesn't seem quite the same, uh, you know, so, but we salute them, man.
always.
Yeah, we salute them, and so talk a bit, as talk a little bit about the importance growing up, right? Mom or dad, right? Siblings. Talk about growing up. Talking about what they taught you in regards to the importance of faith and education and family, faith, and education. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, family. So you just showed that picture of me and my uncle
Hmm.
and my aunt Eva and the little boy and the little girl in the picture. That's my cousin Rosalind.
Hmm.
I thought we were brother and sisters, but we weren't. These were just, this is my uncle and my aunt, and then there's Junior who ended up being the best man at my wedding. So I had a biological father. He was always in my life, even though he didn't live in the house. But I spent most of my time with the Colemans, right? So
Hmm.
wherever he took his kids, he took me too.
Right.
Right. So people thought he was my dad, but he was, this is my uncle. And so wherever he took his kids, I went. So he was the gym director at the boys club. He had different, um,
Yeah, all over
titles.
the
I don't,
all over
yeah.
the building.
He
Yeah.
was known in the community, so I was known in the community through him. So I hung out in 4th Street Playground because he used to ref the games. Back in the day, Lowe's, when it was, the heck with the Rutgers, man. We had 4th Street Playground. So I'm in there 9 years old. I'm sitting at the scorer's table with him. Right,
Right.
sitting at the score, working the clock as he's running up and down. And, it was a good life growing up. You know, went to school in Mount Vernon. Um, you know, and the good thing about Mount Vernon is, even though I got into my trouble, right, but it was always things to do, right? So even when the boys club closed, then we would go over to the PAL, right?
Hmm.
East Athletic League, and then we would hang out with those guys until about 7:30, because I think PAL was from like 4:30, 5 o'clock to like 8 o'clock. So we would go there when we leave the boys club, and then that's where I learned my love for chess. An old Italian officer. We used to lift weights, we used to box, or just kick it with the cops. You know, back then the
Right.
officers
Yeah.
actually lived in Mount Vernon, so they knew you.
That's right.
And so, you know, when I wasn't at the club, I was at PAL, you know, playing ball at 4th Street or, you know, hanging around the projects. You know, projects was a good, you know, it was a good place to live. You know, you had your friends. It was more community.
Yeah.
Then everyone knew each other. Like I grew up with your brothers, you know, Doug and Curtis and Tracy, and you know, we jumped fences, we played basketball, we ring-a-ling coco. You know, we had our little competitions against buildings, and Jerry Brooks, who now everybody calls JB Smooth. You know, I still talk to him on the phone. His phone number's still the same. I'll call him or text him and be like, "Hey, I just saw you on this car." And he'll call you right back.
Right.
You know, so that's the kind of, you know, we were family. So, and it was good living. You know, unfortunately, it seems like all my family is gone now. Right, Mr. Coleman passed away. My aunt Rosalind passed away.
Mhm.
Junior Coleman Jr. passed away, and so, but like you said, it's kind of, you know, they always stay in your heart. You know, the way you grew up, it's like a cement. You know. So even sometimes I drive by the projects and I see it's not the same anymore, but it's still home, you know.
Yes.
You know, as the years go by, you kind of appreciate your childhood a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You know, as I grew up, right, and I started, you know, I did my things. I went into the Marine Corps. You know, I moved away. I came back. You know, I met a young lady. I got married. You know, you have children, and you know, you always think, well, I'm gonna be the guy that I'm gonna leave Mount Vernon and do other things. But you know, here I am years later. I have a home here. Heavily involved at my church, Oneness Rehoboth Apostolic on Fulton and 3rd Street, Franklin Avenue and 3rd Street. Working with reentry program there, a lot of other outreach. Part of a neighborhood block association we started out here in Kingsbridge Gardens, where I live now, to show you how much Mount Vernon has changed. You know, when I was growing up, we used to come around this area to like ride our skateboards and, you know, do our stuff. You know, there was not too many African Americans living in this area then. You know, why y'all coming around here riding your skateboard? You know, and so to show you how much Mount Vernon has changed. But you know, I'm still here, heavily involved in the community. Served as a paramedic for 25 years. A couple of those years was in Mount Vernon, as an EMS supervisor here. Saw a different side of the city. You know, when you live in the city, you know, you really don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But when you go into people's houses, you know, and see the need, is what I saw working as a paramedic in the city. You know, those seniors that needed services, mental health issues, people living like at the poverty level. Things like that, going into the senior buildings, administering to them. And I said to myself that I wanted to do something about that. So I went back to school, got my master's in social work, got licensed, and me and my wife, we started the Care a Bunch, the Care a Bunch Foundation. And the goal for the Care a Bunch was we were going to go into the senior buildings. We have about 10 senior buildings in Mount Vernon, and provide, you know, preventive health care screening for the seniors. The goal was to, you know, facilitate pharmacy pickup. You know, at the time, CVS wasn't dropping off medicines.
Right.
We said, you know, you guys need to drop off the medicines. You know, 40% of your income come from the seniors. You know, provide, you know, drop off their medicines, deliver their medicines, right? So we're going to go into the senior buildings, in the community rooms, do free blood pressure screenings, glucose screenings, tell them about their Medicare, Medicaid rights, Make sure they're taking their medications right. 40% of seniors in the United States take their medication wrong, right? 40%. So that means it makes it less effective, right? If you're taking high blood pressure medicine, you're taking it at the wrong time or the wrong dose or the wrong way. You're not really helping your situation. You're still prone to strokes and things like that. So
Right.
that's the goal of the organization that we started. Um, Also to do dementia checks. Sometimes seniors have the early onset dementia, and it shows in little ways, and you don't notice it, and then turns out before you know it, bang, dementia, Alzheimer's. And so that was the goal, to go in and do these things. And then COVID happened, and then
Yeah.
so the senior buildings, the management corporations said, you can't go in because of COVID. So they was kind of, if you didn't live in the buildings, they didn't really wasn't prone to let anybody in. But since they've let up the restrictions, so the goal is to have our first fundraiser either later this year or early next year, so we can start going back in there and doing the work.
Yeah, that's powerful, man, because
Yeah.
you know, we don't, some areas or some cultures have it where, they get the support where their kids are there supporting, so forth and so on. And then in low income neighborhoods, those seniors may not have that support. And so that's a very powerful thing, to be able to make sure that the health of a senior is good, right? And or that they know what their health care opportunities or
Right.
situations may be, what are the benefits they may have.
Right.
And then,
Options.
man,
Right.
it's powerful, man, if you can't get out and get your medication,
Right.
right? So, and then to get tested for whatever it is, Alzheimer's, or dementia, or blood pressure, or diabetes. I mean, all that's, because as you get older, if you don't have that family support system,
Right.
right, and that's a powerful thing that Care Bunch is doing.
And it's weird, and it's funny you say that, Lowe's, because what had happened was my mother had a stroke, and she lived in one of the senior buildings. So I'm the only son, right? No other siblings that are here. No husband. So after the stroke, I had to move. I moved into her building, got a futon, and I became her primary care provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
So staying in the senior building with her, right? I had to bring her in a wheelchair. I took her downstairs to the community room whenever they had like potluck or movie night or bingo night. And I started meeting with the seniors. And you'd be surprised, these seniors, the family members don't visit them, right?
Wow.
They don't, they don't have anybody that were picking up their medication. They would see me in uniform and they would say, hey, Kevin, can you take my blood pressure? And I would take their blood pressure. And I'm like, Miss Jones, your pressure high. Are you taking your medicine? She said, yeah, baby, I'm taking. I said, go get your medicine. Let me see what you're taking. And I'm taking it. And I'm like, well, when this medicine is expired? Or, when do you take this? I take it every night before bed. Well, Miss Jones said you're supposed to take it in the morning after breakfast. So like I say, they were, and I'm like, and this was just one senior building.
Right.
So I said, if this is happening in this one senior building, what about the other 10 senior buildings we have in Mount Vernon? I mean, how many of them are taking their medicine wrong, that don't don't have anybody visiting them, things like that.
You see that comment down at the bottom, right?
It says, thank you for continued commitment. Yeah, thank you, Miss Sharetta. And so that's how the whole idea of the Care Bunch started.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, it's something that's close to my heart, right? I mean, I went back to school to get the degree, the master's in social work, because it's one thing to start a nonprofit, but right, grant writing. And I don't have to tell you, as the executive director of the Boys Club for like almost 30 years, there's grant writing, there's grants, there's staffing, there's insurances, is
That's right.
you know,
Insurances, liability.
liabilities and,
Yeah.
you know, and when I went to the senior building and I talked to a young lady, I said, this is what we want to do. And she said, she said, it's noble, but I don't know you. You could be anybody, right? I can't just let you in our building, knocking on doors, taking blood pressure. Like, you got to get structured, right? You got to, so that's why we went back and we started the 501c3. We got the license, the 501c3, looking to get the insurance. And, I mean, it's a road, it's a process, but it's something it's going to be done. And especially Lowe's in Mount Vernon, because in Mount Vernon, that across the country, the average senior population is about 17%, right? In New York State is 16%. Mount Vernon is 24%. So 24% of the population in Mount Vernon are seniors, right? So if anybody needs something like this, the Care a Bunch, it's definitely Mount Vernon.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I commend you on, because I believe there's a lot of ministries, a lot of things that we could do. It's like when we were having a problem with the young men in violence and stuff like that, they came up with the peacekeepers.
Right.
How do you get men involved? To be a light in the lives of young people, to be present in your community, to be present in the schools. I mean, be present at events. There's a lot of things that we could do, we could be doing. And I'm glad sometimes people see it, but they're not willing to make the commitment to get out there and do it. And so I commend you for making the commitment to see something and then do something about it. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. How did you I mean, you went back to get the social workers situation, but you graduated from high school and I think you went in the military, right?
Right, I was in Marine Corps for a little while.
Yeah, and then so you come out and you think about what it's like us leaving. It's like me leaving the NBA, man. Yeah. I've been playing ball all this time now. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do next?
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a clue. I was like, man, I'm out here. I was in the military. I was munitions. I blew up stuff, and ain't no job. I don't see anybody offering anybody a job blowing up things, munitions and bombs. So I had to, I fluctuated around with different jobs, and then at the age of 27, I got a chance to go to EMT school for free.
Oh, nice!
Right, and it just changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
When I got on that ambulance and I went to school and the whole medical aspect and I couldn't believe that you got paid, right, to do this, and I found my thing, right. So, and a few years after EMT school, I went on to paramedic school. And after paramedic school, after my, your salary doubles because now you're paramedic. So now you're starting IVs and EKGs and giving medication, and now you're like kind of like a doctor on wheels.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I mean, I did like 80 hours a week for, 15, 20 years. No self-care. You get burnt out. But back in the 90s and 2000s, they didn't talk about self-care that much.
Right.
Now when you go to school, that's especially social work school, that's the first class, self-care. And your wife will tell you, take care of self, mental health days, do things, you get burnt out, you get depressed, anxiety kicking if you don't take care. But I mean, I love the job so much. And then I still do it. I'm still licensed, but what I do now, and this is something that we're very proud of, is this year has always been a dream of mine to start an EMT academy here in Mount Vernon. So we teamed up with an organization called Cool Nerd Prep, and they sponsor us. They put a presentation before the Mount Vernon School trustees. And this December, we started EMT Academy at Mount Vernon High School.
Awesome.
right? Started with about 15 young people. They're 17 years old. I'm a certified lab instructor. My partner, Christiana Corrado, she's one instructor as well. And this June 7th, we'll have the first EMT graduating class at Mount Vernon High School. So we're very proud of that. I mean, and these kids are 17, right? So I I truly believe if I had exposure, right, to be in the EMT or EMS academy when I was a teenager, I'd be Dr. Bunch now. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? But at 27, 28,
yeah, definitely.
But if I was right, because I love starting IVs, reading EKGs, the medication, the contraindications, it came like second nature to me. But so these guys are 17, and I think the exposure more than anything, right? So now these are guys that young men, young ladies that are going to grow up. They're going to be future nurses, future doctors, future X-ray techs, healthcare administrators. The sky's open to them. When I was a teenager growing up, I would see EMTs or ambulances on TV, but the people didn't look like me. Right.
So you said, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, they didn't look like me. And even when in our neighborhood, if you saw an ambulance, they didn't look like us. The ambulance drivers, I didn't know an EMT from a paramedic. But maybe if I had early exposure, right, it would have been different. So I'm very excited about this program, and it looks like it's going to be there for a while. It's going to stay, and we'll be the first high school in Westchester County with the EMT program.
Wow. Hold on to that for a second. We had a couple of questions down here, a couple of comments and questions at the bottom, right? Let us see those again. Monica Russell said, how can we learn more about Care a Bunch?
I have a website, not totally up and running and functional, but I do have a website. I will I'll before the show is over, I'll get the website, and I'll put I'll put it up for everyone to see.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's important. We are proud of you. We got a lot of great comments down there, from different individuals who are proud of you, man. And I want to go back to that point, because a few years ago when I was at the Boys and Girls Club, and a lady had moved back to Mount Vernon. She came in, it was a summer program, and she wanted her daughter to come into the summer program. So when her son came in, he looked like a high school kid. And I said I was having a conversation about the program and stuff like that. I looked at him, and he looked like an athlete, Right. So I said, hey, man, all right, we got your sister taken care of, and your mom satisfied. What do you do? Right, like that. He said, well, I've been certified as an EMT and a fireman. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, he was in the Atlanta school system. That was an option that you can start out, you can become a junior, a junior EMT or fireman or policeman. You could start while you were in high school, started with the process on what it takes to be. You can start it as a junior policeman, junior fireman, right? You could start it as a junior. And I have been asking for years. I have been talking to the mayors at that time, the superintendents at that time, because I thought that would be a good idea, right? So you would be prepped, like you're doing right now. Right. I'm glad this is like one of the first piece, because not everybody's gonna go to or want to go to higher education, right? And there's gonna be some people that want to be doctors and lawyers and teachers and all that kinds of different things that are out there. But there's some people that want to work, in their communities eventually. Right. And if you can get it early, if they can start getting interest in early, like what you're doing right now, say for police, because I hear kids all the time, I want to be in law enforcement, right? If you get them engaged in that thought process while they're in high school, right? Yeah. It's like playing sports, I'm playing basketball, football, tennis, baseball, where everybody don't play basketball, football, tennis, and all those things. They want to do something else. You know,
Right.
a lot of kids, man, when you ask them stuff, man, way
You know.
back when Quincy, remember Quincy came out? He was a forensic, you know.
Yeah, before CSI, it was
Yeah,
Quincy.
it was Quincy. Yeah, before all
Solve
those
crimes
things.
without all the computers and tech.
And kids say this all the time when I'm talking to them, and they see these shows, you know, CSI and all these other ones that come on, and they talk about wanting to do some of this stuff, but it's not available to them.
Right.
You know, there's no vehicle by which they can begin to learn, how do I get involved with that? What is it actually going to take?
Yeah.
You know,
Vocational
to do that.
training. Never sleep on vocational training.
No,
I mean,
never.
I was a paramedic for 25 years. I, pay a mortgage and put kids through college and do everything. And, and that was before I went back to college, right? So, yeah, to become a paramedic, you have to go take some college courses. But, yeah, EMT is a New York State test. You study, you take the test, you become certified, and you can branch off from there. But vocational trainings is important, and early exposure, like you said. Why do we have to? Every kid's not going to go to college for 4 years, right? Everyone's, or nor do they want to. Give them another way to go where they could be productive and earn a living and see where it leads them. The best thing about this EMT program is, and I tell them all the time, they don't really get it now, but when they come back 5 years from now as the first graduating class, and they're talking to the class right before them, and where are they going to be 4 years from now? Are they going to be nurses, doctors? What are they going to be doing in the medical field? And it all starts with something that they got free in high school.
That's right.
Right. So we need to expose our kids to more things, and college is good, and if you have the aptitude for it, definitely. But some kids don't want to come out with $400,000. College debt.
Not everybody's getting a scholarship.
Yeah, not everybody's gonna get a scholarship. Everybody ain't Lowe's More. Everybody ain't. You ain't everybody. Let's be for real here. So I'm excited about that. So
I'm excited about it too, man. Let's digress for a minute. Let's talk about you talk about family and past, uncles and mom and different things like that, and talk about your family, currently being in your family right now. Talk about them a little bit. Your wife, your lovely wife, and everything.
Oh, my beautiful wife. Oh my God. I met this lady. 21 years married. It doesn't seem like it. She's like my everything, man. And I met her on a bus 21 years ago. I spotted her though, Lowe's. I spotted her, and I knew there was something different about her. And the reason I got involved with the church that I'm in for the last 20 years is before her following her, and I followed her all the way to the church, and we have two beautiful boys, Connor and Cooper, right? Irish twins. They're just like 12 months apart. Connor works at the Mount Vernon Boys Club for the last 2 years as a counselor. So see how it comes full circle, right?
Yeah, come full circle.
So Mel Campos and the staff, they didn't know he was my son.
Right.
They didn't know he was my son. I don't tell, and they liked him so much. And then when they found out who he was, they were like, oh my God, he just has such a good work ethic. They asked for him to come back. So, and he's going to come back. So, he was in school he graduated Mount Vernon High School. He was on the soccer team. He was going to school to become a construction management engineer down at New York School of Technology. But he just told us he wants to switch majors. He says he wants to do cybersecurity. And we was like, good decision, right? So that's and the funny thing, Lowe's, is we talk about vocational training. So at the high school, they had a program, and he actually averaged a 95 in cybersecurity his senior year, and he had 6 college credits. right? So they brought the program into the high school. But he said, no, I want to do construction management. And so, okay. After a year, now he wants to come back. So we're good. He already has 6 credits, and I feel good because you know what? If he didn't try it, it would have always been in the back, you know. So I'm glad he did it for a year. It wasn't for him, and he's coming back to what he's really good at. My other son, Cooper, he's a sophomore at Nellie Thornton School, or as everyone calls it, Denzel Washington School of the Performing Arts. Right? He graduates next year. Honor roll student when he wants to be. He plays instruments, so keyboard, clarinet, stuff like that. And he's undecided what he's going to do for his when he graduates next year, because he's a
man. I like the picture, man.
Junior. That's in front of our church there. So yeah. And so yeah, they're enjoying their hair. I tell them to enjoy their hair while it lasts. So so that's my family, man. And then my church family, which you know, our church, I love our church because we're very community minded. You know, we do a reentry program that I was a big part of for about 8 years. You know, we're trying to get back our services. We used to have Friday night community dinners for the people in the area. And since COVID kind of things stopped, we're trying to bring all of those services back. And I love the church because they're community minded. You know, we go to the outreach, we go to the West Help and work with the kids there. We go into the prisons up in Valhalla. So I really love my church family. Shout out to Oneness Rehoboth Apostolic and Pastor Thomas. Yeah, that's my family. So
yeah, man, awesome, man.
That's my strength. My strength.
Oh yeah, for all of us, man. Yeah,
yeah.
What would we do without? What would we do without family?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the only thing is, my boys, though, even though Connor worked for 2 years at the boys' club as a counselor, they were Y-Cop kids, those. They weren't boys' club kids like us. Y-Cop kids on the other side of town. So.
Yeah, so talk about Y-Cop, man. Since you brought up Y-Cop.
Yes, Youth Community Outreach Program. All right, so it was started, I think, in 1996 by Uncle Allen Ayers Jr., Detective Allen Ayers, right? We all know Detective Allen Ayers. He started it back in 1996. It was kind of like the after-school drop-in center for kids. He had about 20, 30 kids. It fell off a little bit, and then it was taken over by Henry Wilson, who is the executive director of Y-Cop. I've been there about 8 years. I started out Lowe's. So how I got affiliated with them was I ran for school board, be a school board trustee in 2016. I was always involved in the school. I was a PTA vice president as a dad, you know, volunteering in the schools, reading, doing whatever. I met him, you know, when you do the tour to speak, I met Henry Wilson, and he was telling me what he was doing. And I didn't win, right? I didn't win that, but, you know, I met a lot of good people because you're campaigning, you're talking. And during the conversations with him, I said, well, let me come see if I can volunteer, because he needed a medical director. Every camp has to have a medical director, right? Your staff have to be CPR trained.
Yes.
You know, Heimlich, how to dislodge, you know. So I started volunteering my time there, became the health director. Then I was on the board, and now I'm the board president, actually, of the Youth Community Outreach Program. We now have 3 locations in Mount Vernon, right? All on the Lincoln Avenue corridor. First Methodist Church, First Ascension First, and First Presby Church, all on that corridor. We have about 170 to 100 kids in the summer program, right? Youth summer camp program, ages from 5 to 12. We are able to provide jobs for about 20 youth summer camp jobs, maybe more. Is it 20, 25? right? And we're growing, man. We're growing. We're it's a great organization. Um, Henry Wilson, Donna Brown, Zenobi Newcomb, Miss Roberts, Betsy Derline. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. So that's my other family. So when I'm not my church family and my family, I'm with my Wycop family.
Yeah, and you got the Care Bunch family,
And I got the Cara bunch. So yeah, so I got it's a lot going on those, but you gotta I just stay busy, man. You want to stay young, you gotta stay busy. You know?
yeah, you do. I got a curiosity question for you though, and it's about that picture right there. You see that picture with the red hat?
So listen, not you too. So let me explain, man. So listen,
Okay.
I
Hold on,
grew
no. You know what? Hey, ladies and gentlemen out there, you know what that red hat says? At the top, it says the 76ers.
Listen, now you should appreciate this. So listen, I grew up a 76er fan, man. I grew up in the 80s watching
Dr. J.
J, Mo Cheeks, the Boston Strangler, right? Who's that?
Yeah. That's
right?
and Tony,
Andrew Toney.
Andrew Toney.
So watching them having to go up against trying to beat the Lakers, then Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Ben Simmons, Embiid. So I'm a 76er fan. Those I drive to Philly and pay $400, and I get, you know where I sit for $400?
Where?
I'm 20 row center where the wives sit. You know what $400 gets you at the Garden? I'm up.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. And the parking's probably about $20.
Yeah, I go to Philly, man. I'm sitting with the players' wives, and but my New York team is the Nets, because you played on the Nets. So Ray, my man Ray Whip played for. So my Brooklyn Nets is my New York team, and I'm sorry, but I'm sticking to my guns, man.
And here we go.
And my Mets, yeah.
And your Mets. I can't be mad at you then because I started out. I'm still a Met, and I ain't a real baseball fan, but growing up I was a big Mets fan, and then eventually all Yankees, and then just back and forth between the Mets and Yankees. We love New York. Right, but when I saw that 76ers hat, I was like, "What is going?" And you check it out. And the only reason it's relevant now, is that the Knicks are winning. That's the only reason it's relevant now.
But so I worked from 2020 to 2022. I worked for AMR Ambulance, and they had you're never gonna believe this. God got a sense of humor. They had the contract for the New York Knicks and the Yankees. So I'm actually on some pictures. You look at Knicks games. I'm the paramedic standing on the floor,
right
next to the medical equipment. I'm right behind the staff, so that if something happens, you got to be there right away. If the
right
heart things have the defibrillator, and so I'm there watching these Knickerbockers, run up, and I'm like, man, I'm a Nets fan and a 76er fan. I'm standing on the floor of the Knicks, but it's a good experience, Good.
No, it's all great experience. Nothing like Madison Square Garden, man. I mean, just
that's true. I was there for the game where Curry broke the record. So they
for the
brought
3-pointers.
Man, Reggie Miller came, almost hit him with the ambulance. He was coming out the wrong way walking, but it was a good night. Yeah, you're right though. There's nothing like the Garden, man, and seeing the players walk around, being in the elevator with Clyde the Glide. I mean, with
Walt
Clyde
Frazier.
Yeah. And Fuchsia Shoes. He's a good guy. I meet all of those guys when I had that job there. It was fun.
Yeah, you mentioned JB earlier.
Yeah. Where you get these pictures from, man?
Man, you got the pictures. I got them from you.
I gave you that? Okay, yeah.
No, but I mean, they're on Facebook. They're on yours. Yeah,
Okay.
it's your own
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, okay. So yeah, matter that was yeah, he came through. He came through town, and we just ran into him. But you know, he grew up in your building. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hung out in your building more than mine because all of my friends were in your building. Your brother Doug, like Curtis, Jerry
yeah.
Ball,
And all my
Davies.
friends are in the other buildings.
Yeah. So you know, man. So
Yeah, and then you've been. I want to say thank you again too for your support. I have the King movement, Westchester King movement. I see you got the Kingdom Men
so
stuff on right
yeah.
there, and I've been trying hard to pull together men to fellowship, right?
Yeah.
Pull together men to get involved, be present in their communities and stuff like that. We need so many more men, right?
Amen to that.
One of the things I was listening to something earlier today, and we can blame a lot of things. We can talk about racism, right? We can talk about violence. We can talk about all the stuff that's out there. And we know they're out there, and we know they're prevalent, right? But one of the things I always say, and people don't like it when I say it, particularly during the time of the social justice issues we was having during the pandemic and during the whole things of Black Lives Matter. And, I was always asked the question, does Black Lives matter to us? Right? And we were addressing what we should have been addressing is a national issue. Of course, we were addressing that. But one of the things we weren't addressing is our responsibility to our own, number one, to our own families. So when you see a young man on the street, a young lady on the street, and you see them doing negative things, the first thing come to my mind is, okay, number one, where's your parents? I mean, where's your mom? Where's your dad? Because to me, that's the first responsibility, right? Is that I had this child, right? And I need to be responsible for the child. Now there could be open up a can of worms. There could be a whole lot of environmental reasons or issues why men are not in the home, why parents are not taking care of their kids. There's a whole lot but if you're going to have these kids, you're able, man, I as a man need to be responsible, right? Husband and wives need to be responsible. Maybe even fathers, even if you're not in the house, mothers need to be responsible for your kids, right? So that they don't end up on the street, end up in these negative things. And we just need more men to be accountable and responsible.
And I think, when I was growing up, man, I mean, I did my things, man. I was running the streets and thinking I was a tough guy, but I always, I had my Uncle Joe, who he was a father-like figure to, if like right now, I mean, I have a big picture of him, my Uncle Joe, with Denzel Washington giving him an award that time when he was, awarded, I think it was Man of the Year. The club had an award, right?
Yeah.
I had my biological father. Then I had the club, right? Then I had officers at the PAL. So I had people that were able to kind of garner me in. So even when my dad wasn't around, I had other male figures, right? At YCOP, our executive director, Henry Wilson, man, he goes to school. Like we had some young people that the father's not around. He'll go to school and talk to the teachers representing the father, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have to stand up. And, there's nothing wrong if dad ain't around. And what I'm learning from being a social worker, and I'm pretty sure your wife will tell you, there's many reasons, right? Many, not just socioeconomic, but many reasons why dads aren't around, right? And in some cases, some of these guys, they're not in a good shape to be fathers. It's best that, some of these guys are, they're out there, right? So,
yeah.
But I think, the community, we need to, organizations and, step up and be that big brother, that stepfather, that uncle. My uncle was uncle through marriage. He wasn't even biological, right? It wasn't my brother, my mother's brother. This was a man through marriage, right, that took me in. right? So we as men, right, this might not be my child, but we gotta kind of grab the men and claim
Yeah.
them. And if we don't claim them, guess what? The morgue will claim them. Jails are quick to claim them, right?
Yeah.
Gangs will claim them.
Right.
So we got to do better as a community. I mean, my brother's keeper was a great. Um, it was a great thing, man. Obama when he initiated the my brother's keeper, and I remember we met a few times. I'm pretty sure you came to the meetings. We met at the Dole Center, and then we broke up in our little subgroups, and then and then I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but yeah, we got to do better, man. I wish I had all the answers, but we got to grab these boys up, these young boys, as a community until their fathers are able to, and even if their fathers are not able to, then we have to fill in. I know you had a Mr. Jones, right? You had somebody to snatch you up and be that figure for you.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Cornell Lewis. Hey, what's up, man? I've seen some people down here. Oh man, he talking about the Yankees. He said, "Go Kevin, represent, bro." Yeah, amen. Yeah,
Oh, these
man.
are comments. Okay,
Yeah,
I can't
these
see
are-
the comments on my end. I guess I
You
gotta.
can't see the comments.
I think I gotta.
You see that one right there?
Oh, I see it popping. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
It's just it's people from my church. Some people watching. Okay.
yeah. I mean, yeah, man. It's let's see here what I'm. Let's see one comment here. Yeah, what's up, cuz?
This one person has a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Lewis. Connell Lewis. Hey, cuz. Okay. Got some people responding. That's good.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. And yeah, I mean, I want to kind of, you know, with the whole thing, man, as we move forward in terms of, yeah, we do need a lot more. I can remember all the men role models growing up, man. I mean, who took the time. We haven't been, we've been, some of us have been good at taking care of our kids, right? But then you just can't take care of your kids as a black man. Right? You
Right.
gotta, I had to not only worry about my kids, but I had to worry about the other kids that were out there too as well.
Right.
And so, just to say hello, shake a hand, give a hug, whatever it is, and I like Mr. Henry, I spent a lot of time at schools with counselors because the parents, didn't show up,
Right. Don't even come to PTA meetings.
or they couldn't show up because they were working.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it is challenging, but we can do better. We can be
We have to
better,
do
and
better. Have to.
and we can do better. Yeah. So, man, I mean, this is awesome tonight, man. I was like, man, I got to get Kevin on, man. He's
Man, I
been
appreciate
supporting.
it, man. I always watch, so I'm a big supporter, and yeah, it's really great being on. Is talking.
Oh yeah. And then we got next week, man. One of the most important times of the year, as far as I'm concerned, man, where we get to celebrate our moms, right? Next week, my mother-in-law is no longer here, right? My mom is here, right? So we get to celebrate both of them, whether they're here or not. They're just their impact. Mother's
Right.
impact, whether they're present or not, just the power impact that they should be celebrated. Whether it's a Heavenly Mother's Day or Mother's Day, they just should be honored.
Yeah,
and,
always. Yeah.
And some of us have, people who were mothers that weren't our biological mothers, that have come into our lives and been a blessing to us. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. My wife and I, we're going to be doing that doing that
Okay,
show
you're gonna
together.
co-host. You're gonna co-host.
Yeah, we're gonna co-host next week on the Mother's Day special.
All right.
That's gonna be fun, man. But man, I want you to keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You know, if I can help, let me know.
You know, I'll call you. You ain't listening. I'll call you in a minute.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try to come to the event on the 18th. For the men that I think you sent me the link.
Yeah, I may have to change that and just do a Zoom. I didn't get very much response. No. I was trying to like start out the summer or the spring doing some fellowship with men.
First, all right.
Yeah, and that's why we went to Dave and Buster's. You know, we went and hung out. And yes. Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 guys. This time when I put it out, May's a crazy month, right? Yeah, May's it's a lot of things going on every weekend. You know, so no blame to them. So that I think I'm gonna push this one. I'm gonna push this one to a Zoom meeting, right? Probably on this Tuesday or the following Tuesday. I'm gonna push it to a Zoom meeting and then see where we can get together and fellowship.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good, man. I'll reach out to some of the men at my church and see. So one of the pictures you showed, we were all in our kingdom shirts. So we did. It was a bunch of our men, and we just did a prayer walk that day around, City Hall, police department, the schools. Just walk around and praying. Walking down the avenue, meeting people, shaking hands, really trying to connect to men, right? Yeah. And trying to tell them that we were out here and invite them to church. So that was a good day. We do the prayer walks once in a while.
And ask your pastor if you have a men's meeting, we'll come for about 15, 20 minutes and explain what the King movement is, so that they'll know exactly what it is. And, so.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes, sir. But thanks again, man. Hold on for a second. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your support tonight. Thank you for all the comments, all the questions. You guys are simply awesome, man. I love you guys. God bless you, man. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Next Saturday morning, right, is our Mother's Day podcast special with me and my wife. Again, thank you for your support. I love you guys. Man, I say this each and every week, right? If God allows you to wake up tomorrow, make tomorrow your masterpiece. God bless you, and I'll see you next week. Yeah, Kevin, hang on for a second, man. Okay. Just hang on for a second here. It looks like it was thrown into my hands here. Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.